Have you ever watched a good action movie and thought to yourself, man, I wish there was more to it than just the action? Obviously, action and special effects is the bread and butter of what makes movies like Avatar appealing. But between the chaos and the epic scale battles, the emotional depth of the film can sometimes be left shallow. So what if the story was rewritten and James Cameron took an approach that emphasized less on how great the CGI was for a late 2000s movie and more on building character dynamics and plot points that make us, the audience, care more about the action that's taking place? But the question is, how? In order to achieve emotional depth, this rewrite integrates 4 key elements. 1. A foil character. A foil character is someone whose personality and traits contrast the main character. Are we going to fabricate a new character entirely? No, we're not going to create someone for our own sake. Rather, we will be adding life, quite literally as you will see shortly, to a character that is integral to the plot taking place to begin with, who was always there and whom we all seem to underestimate. But more on that in a moment. 2. Imperfect characters and settings. Jake Sully is imperfect. He does as he pleases, thinking about consequences later. But Jake isn't the only character in this film. Emotion is evoked when all central characters are well-rounded. It makes not only them more relatable, but the world more relatable too. As for the setting, Pandora is the perfect backdrop to demonstrate the multifacetedness of our other characters. One of the film's minor plot holes was that Jake's body was grown in a lab, lacking predisposition to immunodiseases and infections. Jake navigates himself into the Na'vi world, chomping on anything tossed his way and drinks anything, including rainwater from the forest, and doesn't even get a stomach ache. Even being around the tribe and animals, he didn't get Na'vi chickenpox or something. 3. Higher stakes and an ethical dilemma.
This is our son, Franklin.
Forcing your main character into a high-stakes situation where they have to make a decision where there are negative consequences either way is how to demonstrate their growth and their moral grounding. Think of the trolley simulation. There isn't a clear right or wrong, just a decision that we, the audience, now understand based on their lived experiences through the film. And 4. Nuanced messaging. Avatar's message is clear and good. Colonization is detrimental to people, cultures, and the environment. But it still falls into the harmful trope and perpetuates a narrative. The white savior. It's one of the central plot holes to the third and final act. In order to yield more numbers to fight, Jake goes off to convince other clans around Pandora to fight with them. But why would the clans join him? Neytiri's chief didn't believe him, and that was after seeing the tree damaged for himself. And why didn't the humans attack during the days when Jake was gathering the other clans? They had no reason to refuel or delay. This improvement is a particular challenge for the rewrite because Jake Sully is the protagonist. So the question becomes, how do we retain Jake's importance in the trajectory of Na'vi survival, stay the main character that is loved, while respecting indigenous agency and self-preservation? Let's tweak all 3 of these acts and get started with Act 1. Act 1. The outsider arrives. Jake Sully arrives on Pandora, a breathtaking world targeted by the Resources Development Administration for its underground unobtainium reserves. Paralyzed from the waist down, Jake replaces his recently deceased twin brother, Tom Sully, in the Avatar program, piloting a Na'vi body to navigate Pandora while reporting back to the military and escorting scientists Grace and Norm. We flash back to childhood. 2 twin boys, Jake and Tom, inseparable. They argue over which game to play. Jake wants paintball guns. Tom wants Legos. Neither will budge, so they split up and play alone. It's small, it's childish, and it's the first fracture in their values. Back on Pandora, Jake is stranded and rescued by Neytiri, who is tasked with teaching him her people's ways. Through her, Jake begins to see the world not as a battlefield, but as a living system, a culture rooted in balance, spirituality, and reciprocity. Another flashback. As young adults, the twins diverge completely. Tom disappears into academia and research. Jake leans into patriotism and the military. Meanwhile, on Pandora, Jake learns the Na'vi language, customs, and connection to Awa. The more he learns, the more his loyalty fractures, pulled between human orders and a growing reverence for a world that is undeniably alive. Immersed in Na'vi life, Jake begins to change physically, emotionally, spiritually, and then he gets sick. It's something most Na'vi children experience when they're young. Neytiri takes care of him. She has to slow down. She has to soften. Their bond deepens not through conquest, but through care. Jake eventually earns the clan's trust, bonds with a banshee, and falls in love with Neytiri, crossing the threshold from a visitor to one of them. As Jake integrates further, Grace and her team grow more invasive. They demand intimate cultural details in the name of science. Jake becomes a spectacle, observed, cataloged, studied, and for the first time, he understands what that feels like. When asked to translate Neytiri's pain, he doesn't. He starts lying to Grace, protecting Neytiri's privacy instead of exploiting it. Grace keeps saying it should have been his brother. Tom would have been better at this. Tom would have understood. Meanwhile, the military grows impatient. They want actionable intelligence to destroy Home Tree and to finally access the valuable unobtainium pulsing through its roots. Grace reveals that Tom recorded messages of himself while he was training for this mission, available to Jake at any time. His brother's words are only a click away if he so chose to hear them. But just as Jake prepares to listen, the Home Tree is attacked. Jake switches back into his Na'vi body to fight, and his betrayal is exposed. The Na'vi are devastated. He is cast out. Home Tree falls. The grief is total and irreversible. Act 3. Rebellion and Rebirth. Desperate to redeem himself, Jake attempts to tame the Turok, the mythical creature that symbolizes leadership and divine favor. Jake fails. The creature nearly kills him, until Neytiri intervenes. She tames the Turok herself. She becomes Turok Makto. She leads. With the help of her father and her betrothed, the clans unite under her command. Jake returns to his human body and finally watches Tom's recordings. His brother reveals he believes he will be killed well before he makes it to Pandora. Why? Because Tom Sully discovered how to destroy unobtainium, rendering it useless to humans while leaving it intact for the Na'vi. The RDA will set a hit out on him. They will recruit his conveniently patriotic twin brother to carry on their mission. He tells Jake that when they do, he needs his brother to finally be the man he could have always been. Forget the military, forget science, destroy the unobtainium at all costs. 3 human bodies must die in the Tree of Souls. Their blood must pierce the tree's roots. It will tamper with the metal beneath. It's the only way. The war erupts. The Na'vi fight not just for their land, but for the preservation of life's balance. Grace is shot. Her human body dies at the base of the Home Tree. Jake realizes she is the first. Only 2 more bodies left. Just as the war persists, Awa intervenes, and Pandora fights back. In the final battle, the Colonel reveals the truth. Unobtainium has the power to save Earth, and everyone on it if it were extracted. It's either us or them. Jake could go home. Jake hesitates, and then pierces the Colonel's heart with a military knife. Pandora is his home now. He brings both the Colonel's body and his own human body to the Home Tree. The unobtainium is destroyed. The RDA leaves, knowing how to return, but with no reason to. Jake transfers his consciousness permanently. The soldier dies. The Na'vi spirit lives. The original film wins a battle. This ending prevents the next invasion. Could the sequel still take place? Yes. Yes, they could. But this also makes the first film a more compelling single narrative. As we look at our checklist, notice how each element was integrated. 1. A foil character. Tom Sully, Jake's twin brother, serves as the perfect foil. Where Jake is hard and reckless, Tom is studious and righteous. The purpose of having Tom is to externalize Jake's internal conflict, demonstrate Jake's growth, and put the protagonist in context. The methodology of implementing the foil character is through recontextualized repetition through flashbacks with the foil character. Flashbacks show the passage of time and how much has changed for a character and relationships. These flashbacks are used to demonstrate how Jake is of 2 minds. He wants to obey his mission with the Colonel, whom he was raised to respect growing up, but also has a part of him symbolized through Tom that is growing to love Pandora and the Na'vi way of life. 2. Imperfect characters and settings. The imperfect setting is demonstrated through Jake getting sick. This represents the opportunity for Neytiri to demonstrate a softer side, while also pulling him away from the savior trope. That will be further discussed later. And the character that was truly granted imperfection through this rewrite was... did you guess it? Grace. Depicted as kind to the natives, sarcastic, and there in the pursuit of science, her character didn't need much changing to illuminate her moral grayness. Her lab is funded by the RDA, and her research is directly used to create avatars that would end up harming the Na'vi. Though better masked, the Na'vi are a means to an end for Grace just as they are to the Colonel and Selfridge. Here, Grace is not redeemed. She is complicit. She exemplifies that exploitation can wear kindness like a costume. 3. Higher stakes and an ethical dilemma. How was this integrated in the rewrite? Unobtainium. It is the basis of the RDA's presence and terrorism against the natives. Yet in the original, there isn't any mention of what the metal actually does for Earth, only that it's a value of 22 million USD per kilograms. This is extremely important and is pivotal to this film's rewrite. Jake learning that unobtainium could save millions of lives on Earth at the cost of lives on Pandora forces him to choose between two options with unavoidably negative consequences. The stakes are at their highest. Instead of audiences left to think, well, won't the humans just keep on fighting and trying to get the natural resources after this battle? We are given a completed narrative and the ultimate price to be paid. The final choice costs everyone, because as the audience, we learn to fall in love with Pandora's nature, its animals, its brutality, and the Na'vi people and their way of living. We fundamentally understand why Jake makes the ultimate decision to destroy the unobtainium, but not without an earned gut punch of what that means. Pandora is saved, Earth is condemned, and the story finally commits to a consequence. And 4. Nuanced messaging. This ending understands that real victory is preventing the next invasion entirely. It's not about spectacle or last-minute heroics, it's about cutting the logic of colonization off at the source. Crucially, Jake remains the main character without becoming the savior. His importance no longer comes from leading the Na'vi or speaking for them, but from how he uses the access and privilege arbitrarily granted to him. Instead of turning Natiri into a symbol or a translator for human understanding, he protects her privacy and refuses to convert her pain into narrative currency. Jake does not dismantle colonization by ruling with it, he dismantles it by destroying the system that elevated him in the first place. He stays on Pandora, not as a reward, but as a consequence. Paired with Avatar's visuals, this wouldn't just be impressive, it would be meaningful, not just beautiful, but brave enough to know what is actually being said. What other story elements could have been integrated in this film? Thank you for watching, and leave a comment on which film to rewrite next.